Hey, welcome to Rob Rides Cargo Bikes. In this video, I'll be taking a closer look at my 2016 Larry vs. Harry eBullitt Classic. So here's my 2016 Larry vs. Harry eBullitt, warts and all, though it's mostly warts to be honest. It's my first cargo bike and I can truly say it changed my life. Having test ridden a Bullitt at a bike show a few weeks before I got this, I already knew I was going to like it, but I had no idea just how much I'd be looking for any excuse to take the bike instead of public transport or the car, and it's made doing daily errands so much more fun. I got it in early 2020, just a few weeks before COVID hit. I paid €1,800 for it, and the previous owner gave me loads of accessories with it, including a spare battery, BBX side panel and cover kit, a steering damper, a honeycomb board, Farah panel bags, a Farah bowl, a rear panel bag holder, a Bullitt garage, a side stand kit, and probably some other stuff I forgot about. It was certainly a great deal, and I told the previous owner he was selling it too cheap, but he bought it on his business, and by that point it was already a tax write-off, so he was happy to see it go as he'd already bought another one. I've nicknamed this bike my e-SUV. I use it for everything from dad taxiing kids around, heavy hardware shop loads, oversized cargo, and even, surprisingly, the occasional crate of beer. I use it in all weathers and it's basically my daily ride. I tried to save my Miss Bullitt for the dry days and when I'm not carrying kids, but this one gets everything else. As I look back through the photos of the different stuff I've carried with this bike, I'm actually amazed I managed to go so long without a cargo bike. I thought about giving it a good clean and polish for this video, but that wouldn't reflect its real character, so I left it covered in road grime and winter slime. As I record this voiceover, it has just over 17,000 kilometers on it, with almost 6,000 kilometers of those being mine. So, starting at the front, I have the standard front wheel with a Schwalbe Big Ben in a 2.15 inch width. It's tight to the mudguard, but I've not had any problems, and I like the bigger tyre for a bit of a smoother ride for the kids. I've got a Magura MT5 caliper with a 203mm disc running Trickstuff red power pads, though I'll probably go for the blue comfort pads when these wear out. I have the Supernova V6S light up front, which is really good. It has great power and a good beam pattern, and I really miss it when I ride any of my other bikes at night. I'm running an NHK steering damper, though to be honest I don't know if I need it. It came fitted and I never took it off. As I said, I ride this bike daily and it certainly looks like it too. I've crashed it, dropped it, raced it, and banged it against many bike racks since I've had it, and the scratches along the frame certainly show that. In a vain attempt to stop scratching it so much, I wrapped the steering rod with an old inner tube, but now that also looks haggard and rotten, so that was a total waste of time. I did put a few stickers on one side to try and distract from the scratches, but I'll let you be the judge of if that worked or not. Moving to the drivetrain, I'm on a mechanical Shimano XT 11-speed setup. The mech was brand new when I fitted it about 5,000 kilometers ago, but is now also bearing the scars of a few knocks and scrapes. It originally had an Alpine 8 Di2 drivetrain fitted, but I felt like the drive felt vague and sloppy, so I made the switch and I'm much happier with it now. I've not had to do any extra maintenance other than oiling the chain since I fitted it, so I haven't really lost the convenience of an internal geared hub setup. I have an 1146 tooth cassette, but I only use the 5 highest gears, so I could probably go for a closer ratio cassette. I have a 44 tooth chainring, which I took the chain guard off because I think it looks better, and I always ride in shorts anyway, so I'm not getting oil on my trousers. I've got some DMR V8 pedals, as I've never had a problem with DMR, and in fact I have them on all my other bikes apart from my Miss Bullitt and gravel bike. I'm running the standard rear wheel and hub, and a Schwalbe Big Apple in a 2-inch width. I'd love to go up to a 2.2 or a 2.3 inch rear tyre, but the narrow rear tyre clearance is well known on Bullitts. Sometimes on gravel or dirt surfaces, I wonder if this tyre is almost too big as well, as I hear gravel scraping the inside of the mudguard, but the smoother ride of the bigger tyres is a higher priority for my passengers. I have a Magura MT5 rear caliper with a 180mm disc running in blue comfort pads as well. It has the Shimano Steps E6000 motor, which after over 17,000 kilometers is creaky and squeaky, but it still pulls well in all modes. As far as I know, it's the original motor and it just keeps on trucking. I ride it in eco mode about 98% of the time, only ever going up to normal or high assist modes if I have a very heavy load and hit a hill. I found the assist cutoff at 25 km an hour to be a bit jarring in the normal and high modes, but the transition feels much more natural in eco and it doesn't jerk around as much when it's cutting in and out at 25 km an hour. I do worry about what I'll do if or when the motor dies. I've seen a few new old stock motors on eBay, but I don't have a Shimano dealer login to configure one. And I've also seen e-bikes converted to muscle bikes with a bottom bracket welded in, but that seems like a bit of a backward step. I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, which hopefully won't be anytime soon. Moving up to the cockpit, I have an 800mm wide Pro Coriac bar on the standard 60mm stem. I have the Easy Up installed and I use it a fair bit on bigger loads. I have a Shigura setup for my front brake as the Magura lever I had before developed an unfixable leak and I've had no problem since switching to the Shimano lever. It has a Spur Cycle original bell which sounds great and is plenty loud, and it has some ergonomic grips that were fitted when I bought it but are pretty comfortable. So I mentioned the previous Di2 setup. Usually you would have those two grey buttons on both sides of the bars, but I swapped the ones on the right for the gear shifter. It's meant I've lost some functions such as the walk feature where the bike propels itself at a walking pace, and also the ability to change the time on the display, which is a bit annoying for daylight savings. However, with the old setup I was often accidentally changing gear when I went to ring the bell, and I thought it easier just to go mechanical XT instead of Di2 as I didn't know if the Di2 stuff had to be manually configured. It's a bit of a quirk, but the benefits of having a mechanical derailleur setup over the Alpine setup are very much worth it for me. I have the matching Supernova V6S rear light, which again is great and highly visible. There's a generic 400mm seat post and a Brooks C17 saddle that has seen better days. As you can see, it's tearing at the business end and I'll have to replace it very soon, which is a shame as it's very worn in and super comfy. Moving up to the load area, I'm currently running a honeycomb board with some battered BBX side panels and the waterproof cover. I'm increasingly wishing the load area was wider, especially when carrying a passenger and an additional bag or two, but I'm still hoping to magically find a Bullitt X down the back of the sofa, so I'll be keeping this setup for now. I also have the foldable seat which I bought new. I fitted a 5-point harness for when my son was a bit smaller and needed more support, but he's outgrown it now and we're using the lap belt the seat came with instead. The seat is hard wearing and good quality and my passengers seem to prefer it over the random cushions I was thrown in it before. There's still just about enough room for 2 crates of beer when the seat is folded up, which is also useful. I have the Farah panel bags on the back wall of the load bay which hold some high-vis and tie-down straps. My first set broke where the zip goes around a corner, but I missed it so much that I bought another. Other details on this bike include crutch feet on the stand, which slightly raises the bike and is useful for the bigger tyres. And I also have a strong magnet on the bottom of the load bay, somewhere underneath all that dirt, which helps to trigger traffic lights at night when it's quiet. Busting out my super accurate €8 scales, we can see the bike tops out at about 44.5 kilos. That surprised me a bit as it doesn't feel that heavy when riding, but this is a fully loaded real life weight and it still comes in lighter than other leading long john cargo bikes from other brands. The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed almost every photo I've featured so far has a frame lock installed. I took it off in the end as I kept forgetting to unlock it when rolling the bike off the stand and I've lost count of how many spokes I broke in the process. I always thought that wouldn't be me, but here we are. I don't have any immediate plans to change anything on this bike. I'd like a wider box as it gets a bit tight when you have a child and a couple of bags to carry, but the current setup is working well enough at the moment. I've been thinking about a rear rack and pannier bags, but I think a wider box would be overall more useful for my day-to-day routines. I'm much more open to changing this bike compared to my Miss Bullitt, but I also need to consider the cost of changing things every time I think of something I'd like to try. Having already changed the drivetrain, cockpit and passenger seating arrangement several times, I'm likely getting to the point now where further big changes to a bike with a high mileage motor and no warranty may be better spent put towards a new bike. I wasn't really sure how to sum this bike up without gushing too much, but having thought about it while making this video, I realised that my Miss Bullitt is the bike I fawn over and lust after, and the one I put on social media because it pops more in photos. But my eSUV is a reliable workhorse that just keeps on going, takes whatever I throw at it, and has well and truly become part of the family. It's introduced me and my family to the amazing world of cargo bikes, cargo bike racing, and generally just having more fun with bikes in our daily lives. If it was lost or stolen, then I'd replace it immediately. And I'm not really sure what else sums it up better than that, to be honest. If you made it this far, then thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this bike or anything else, then please ask away and I'll try my best to answer. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already, as it really helps small channels like mine. Thanks a lot and see you in the next one.